Making the finest medicine is about craftsmanship. It is also about honesty and responsibility. Every pill reflects the technical edge and medicinal supremacy of a pharmaceutical enterprise. It also mirrors our shared values. Hearing Yiling, seeking wisdom from traditional virtues to carry us towards future. We are devoted to a creed that curative power is the only measure for efficacy and quality. Each Lianhua Qingwen capsule crystallizes our painstaking efforts and pride, and embodies our great passion for perfection.
Hi, I'm Police Lieutenant Colonel Kimberly Mulitas. I'm currently the Chief of the Public Community Relations of the Highway Patrol Group. I took it because in July, while I was training for my motorcycle rider course, I contracted the disease. I was tested positive of the COVID. Some of my friends already had that experience of taking the Lianhua. So they sent me some. Fortunately, here I am, being interviewed because of the medicine that 2 days after I was tested positive, I didn't have a sense of smell, I didn't have a taste, I cannot eat, I had body weakness, I had cough, I had colds, I had a bad headache, body malaise, everything except for the fever. Friends based in Singapore, in Taiwan, and of course in other countries that has been affected, and some of them mentioned about the use of Lianhua. I always wondered why it was not being approved here in the country. Fortunately, we have a good supply of it, and right now we distributed them to our officers. In any case that, or if there's any worry that they would have this COVID, we already have doses for them. It was good because I felt that it was not harming my body, since I know and I understood that it's a high-grade medicinal plant, or it's a plant-based medicine. I got better, and it's not just me. It was quite good coming from the perspective of a law enforcer and the nurse, as I am. Of course, you have to follow the correct regimen for it. You have to take water, you have to properly nourish your body, and it serves as a medicine and a supplement, and as a supplement at the same time for you. Growing from the mountains, we've always been an advocate of herbal medicines. And I think it's very important to recognize that still in this world of modern medicine, it's always important to consider the natural medicines that we have around. At the end of the day, when things happen like this, like the unexpected spread of this COVID, which cannot even be solved by Western medicine, it's important to look at the aspect of naturality, and that there are medicines provided by us, by nature. It's readily available for everyone, it's cheap. For all those who are still challenged by it, I think that you don't have to worry. There are many testimonies, not just mine, that says that it really works. Personally, I would say it worked because I am here, I am healed with the help of the Lianhua, which I took. I got better. Please consult the right people and use the medicine correctly for you to get better and to get back on your feet.
Benjamin Abalos Jr. na tinamaan po ng COVID. Ikinuwento niya ang kanyang karanasan sa pagtutok ni Easy Lee ng Stand for Truth.
I was positive for COVID.
2 araw makalipas, nakaramdam na raw siya ng sintomas. I felt na parang masakit yata itong mga kasukasuan ko, masakit yung balikat ko, para ko lalagnatin. Mabuti na lang, si Senator Bongbong Marcos gave me this Chinese medicines. This is the Lianhua.
Ang tinutukoy ni Abalos, ang Chinese medicine na Lianhua Qingwen na agad daw niyang sinubok.
I really don't self-medicate, pero looking at the background, mukhang effective naman. No? Mukhang ayos naman, and in certain countries it's approved. Sabi ko, why not? There's nothing to lose. So I immediately took 4 of them. 4. Ininom ko kagad. You know what? The following day, pinagpawisan ako ng sobra para ako naligo. Pagkatapos, I felt para ako Superman. Lahat ng kasukasuan na masakit na wala, lahat ng fever, everything. It's as if nothing happened.
Sa clinical trials, lumabas na mas mataas ang naging recovery rate ng mga may mild symptoms ng COVID-19 na pinainom nito kumpara sa mga hindi. Umikli rin daw ang duration ng pagiging positibo ng mga
Making the finest medicine is about craftsmanship. It is also about honesty and responsibility. Every pill reflects the technical edge and medicinal supremacy of a pharmaceutical enterprise.
In this world of modern medicine, it's always important to consider the natural medicines that we have around. At the end of the day, when things happen like this, like the unexpected spread of this COVID, which cannot even be solved by Western medicine, it's important to look at the aspect of naturality and that there are medicines provided by us, by nature. It's readily available for everyone, it's cheap. For all those who are still challenged by it, I think that you don't have to worry. There are many testimonies, not just mine, that says that it really works. Personally, I would say it worked because I am here. I am healed with the help of the Lianhua, which I took. I got better. Please consult the right people and use the medicine correctly for you to get better and to get back on your feet.
Good day, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining the virtual launch on Yiling and Philippine Archipelago's efforts of bringing traditional Chinese medicine to the Philippines. My name is Max Yu, your host for today. And over the next hour, we have a lot in store for all of our viewers. Now, if you find this launch interesting, please feel free to share this with your colleagues, families, and friends. The delayed broadcast, which will be posted later this evening through our media partner, Asian Dragon Magazine's Facebook page. During this virtual launch, we will have speakers giving their presentations in English and in Chinese. For your convenience, we have enabled Zoom's interpretation function that will have Chinese to English and English to Chinese translations. To enable this function, simply click on the English option at the Interpretation tab on the bottom of your Zoom screen, mute the original audio, and you're good to go. We will be guided by County Luella Qingchen for the English interpretation. 在本次发布会中，我们将有以英语和汉语发言的演讲者，只听懂普通话的观众朋友们，可以按底下的翻译图标，同时把原始音频关掉，这样就能听到刘龙医生的翻译。Through the years, we have been supporting a mission that strives to improve the quality of life for the Filipino community. And today we are commemorating the partnership of Shijiazhuang Yiling Pharmaceutical and Philippine Archipelago International Trading Corporation as they team up to introduce the wonders of traditional Chinese medicine. To officially start, let us now welcome Philippine Archipelago International Trading Corporation President, Ms. Olivia Limpe Ao.
Hello, good afternoon, our dear friends. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So good afternoon, our dear friends in media, government, our public health practitioners, our doctors and guests in attendance. On behalf of our principal, Shijiazhuang Yiling Pharmaceutical Company Limited, which is a renowned publicly listed company and one of the top TCM enterprises in China, and our company, Philippine Archipelago International Trading Corporation, we wish to welcome you all to this virtual launch of Lianhua Qingwen capsule. Lianhua Qingwen is the first traditional Chinese medicine to be registered with the Philippine Food and Drug under the pharmacologic category of traditionally used herbal product. We are most thankful to our FDA, headed by Director General Eric Domingo, for this landmark registration. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought to fore the importance of TCM, and in particular, the significant role of Lianhua Qingwen in the prevention and treatment of COVID-19, which has contributed much to the treatment and control of this global epidemic. Today, we have experts from Yiling Company, Dr. Tong Wei, President of the TCM Division of Yiling's Medical Research Institute. She will discuss the historical role of TCM in the treatment of epidemics and how Lianhua Qingwen, through their innovations in TCM, as spearheaded by no less than the owner of Yiling, Wu Yiling, who is a multi-awarded doctor and academician. Wu Yiling has put into practice the collateral disease theory, which is a model of inheritance in innovation in the development of Lianhua Qingwen. This has enabled Lianhua to maintain its effectiveness against all kinds of modern-day exogenous febrile diseases from SARS to COVID-19, and even against the common flu, influenza, and respiratory illnesses. Ms. Chang Yiling, Vice President, will then discuss how Yiling has brought TCM to the world. And lastly, we have the Medical Director of our Philippine Archipelago International Trading Company, Dr. Philip Tangatwe, who is a professor at the UP College of Medicine, a TCM expert, and an acupuncture physician at the UP PGH, who will discuss the science behind TCM, the why and the how Lianhua is effective against exogenous febrile diseases such as influenza and COVID-19. Through our webinar presentation today, we hope to open your hearts and your minds to a whole new world of the thousands-year history of traditional Chinese medicine, which can provide us with vast treatment options we have never seen in this magnitude, never exposed to, and never had access to until today. As they say, better late than never. And if there's a silver lining to this COVID-19 pandemic, it's the awareness on TCM and the provision for effective, safe, and affordable phyto-based treatments that would be a big help to our fellow countrymen. With Lianhua Qingwen, you don't have to be afraid. Thank you very much and have a good afternoon.
Thank you very much for that very warm welcome. Once again, that was Philippine Archipelago International Trading Corporation President, Ms. Olivia Lim Pe Ao. Truly, innovations drive partnerships, such as the one we are celebrating now. On that note, we would like to thank our sponsors, Shijiazhuang Yiling Pharmaceutical and Philippine Archipelago International Trading Corporation, as well as our media partner, Asian Dragon Magazine, for broadcasting our event on its Facebook page. Like I mentioned earlier, feel free to share the link with your friends, your loved ones, because we have 3 notable speakers who have joined us here today to introduce to us what traditional Chinese medicine is all about. We would like to remind our viewers that at any point in time, if you have any questions, you may ask them via our chat box, and we will have our speakers address them during our open forum. Okay? So first, we have Shijiazhuang Yiling Pharmaceutical Vice President, Ms. Yunling Zhang. We also have Yiling Medical Research Institute's TCM Division President, Dr. Tong Wei. And lastly, Philippine Archipelago International Trading Corporation's Medical Director, Dr. Philip Tangatwe. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us here today. Now, before we proceed to our first panelist, I would like to once again remind everyone that we have a language interpretation option available at the bottom of your screen. Just choose the English option, mute the original audio, and you're all set, okay? So to formally introduce Shijiazhuang Yiling Pharmaceutical, let us now welcome their Vice President, Ms. Yunling Zhang. 恭请宜林药业股份有限公司常务副总经理张韵玲女士为观众朋友们介绍。
好，最近的各位来宾、女士们、先生们、媒体朋友们，大家好。
Dear guests, ladies and gentlemen, media friends, welcome. I am the Vice President of Shijiazhuang Yiling Pharmaceutical, Ms. Zhang Yunling. I'm very happy to cooperate with Philippine Archipelago Company to bring Lianhua Qingwen to the Philippines. Yiling has a 28-year history and was introduced into the market in Shenzhen. It has more than 10,000 employees, and it is more than It is worth more than 30 million RMB. It is one of the 500 strongest companies in China. In 2019, it has won the first prize at State Science and Technology Advancement Award. In the beginning of COVID-19, with 3 drugs and 3 decoctions based on traditional Chinese medicine, Lianhua Qingwen capsules, there were 28 versions of healing provided by Lianhua Qingwen capsule. Lianhua Qingwen continues to expand its territory in the global market. In Kuwait and Uzbekistan, it has been approved by the government. In some countries, even without approval by the government, it was approved as a treatment for COVID. In Canada, Romania, Singapore, and more than 20 countries and regions, it has been also approved by their governments. This global pandemic has let the people give a renewed recognition of traditional Chinese medicine. It has been promoted, traditional Chinese medicine has been promoted all over the world in different aspects of healing and treatment and overseas outside of China. Chinese medicine has 2,000 years of history. All over the world, in Europe and in Canada, prominent international conference collateral disease have been held for 16 sessions. With the overseas publication of the English version of collateral disease. And has collaborated with Harvard University and other international medical institutes, and has achieved a lot of research results in international medical research, and has been very influential. We're using modern technology to promote traditional Chinese medicine to get the approval internationally and reach standards of international medical field. Yiling Pharmaceutical took the initiative in conducting evidence-based study of over 20 Chinese patent drugs. And it is a very good safety measure. The Qili capsule were published on the Journal of the American College of Cardiology, and have been widely recognized in American medical journals. Lianhua Qingwen has also been widely used and recognized by several medical professionals, both in China and internationally. And in May of this year, in an international journal, Lianhua Qingwen was widely approved. Research results show that Qingwen greatly improves the light symptoms of COVID-19 symptoms such as fever and coughs. It is the first Chinese medicine that has been approved by FDA widely. We aim to establish a global brand for Yiling Pharmaceutical. Our products include vitamins and other international medicine and nutrients. Aside from Lianhua Qingwen, 9 of our other products have also been approved by FDA to launch in the US market and other countries. Our products have been approved by GNP in US, Canada, New Zealand, and other countries. Under Lianhua Qingwen, there are also other kinds of medicines that have been approved. The approval of Lianhua Qingwen in the Philippines is a very important step by Yiling Pharmaceutical in its globalization. Our partnership with Philippine Archipelago International Trading Company will surely help a lot of Filipino citizens in their health. Thank you so much.
Miss Zhang Yunling. Truly, Yiling Pharmaceutical is in the forefront of traditional Chinese medicine with its rich credentials, its history, and awards garnered. And I strongly believe that it is something that we all need to discover more, and that's ultimately the reason of why we are all here today. Now, moving on to our next speaker, who will be enlightening us on how Yiling has been dealing with infectious diseases from SARS to COVID with traditional Chinese medicine. Let us now welcome Yiling Medical Research Institute's TCM Division President, Dr. Kong Wei. 来一起欢迎宜林医药研究院中药分院院长魏聪博士。
尊敬的
Dear guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy to join this launch and share the ability of Lianhua Qingwen to fight COVID-19 with everyone. Lianhua Qingwen combines traditional Chinese medicine, rich clinical practice, and theoretical summaries in the treatment of epidemics. So today I'm going to share with you the experiences that traditional Chinese medicine has garnered in its history of treating epidemics. Ever since the Han Dynasty, there have been around 300 epidemics that have occurred, occurring about once every 6 years. During 2003, the SARS outbreak and H1N1, as well as COVID-19. Traditional Chinese medicine has played a significant role in the treatment of these epidemics. Let's look at the population change of Chinese people ever since the Han Dynasty. Population continued to grow from the Han Dynasty to the end of the Qing Dynasty. So in summary, we can see that In the 3,000-year history, traditional Chinese medicine has played a very important role in the fighting of epidemics. Traditional Chinese medicine has rich practice and theoretical summaries in fighting against epidemics. We can say that COVID-19 has become a major public health event facing all mankind. And until now, COVID-19 still hasn't seen an inflection point. And it has made a serious impact on economic development and social life. It has been said by the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres that COVID-19 pandemic is the worst global crisis since World War II. It takes a long time to research and develop drugs and vaccines to control COVID-19, and there is a risk for mutation in the novel coronavirus. Thus, there is an urgent need for effective drugs for epidemic prevention and control. Ever since 400 to 300 BC, or the Han Dynasty and the Qing Dynasty, history in fighting epidemics has provided us very valuable experience in our current research. First of all, we believe that the occurrence of epidemics is related to the climate. Second, we know that one of the characteristics of epidemic is that it can be transferred from one person to another. In Eastern Han Dynasty, Zhang Zhongjing developed the method that syndrome differentiation of exogenous cold diseases according to 6 channels in Shanghan Zapingli. For contagious diseases, he developed the 3 stages of detecting diseases. And in the Ming Dynasty, Dr. Wen Yilun summarized epidemics by pestilences and are caused by Li Qi. It spreads through the mouth and nose and is specifically pathogenic. In the Qing Dynasty, there's another doctor named Ye Tianshi who proposed the regular pattern of changes of exogenous febrile diseases according to Wei or defense, Qi, Ying or nutrient, and Xue or blood. He proposed regular pattern of changes of exogenous febrile diseases according to syndromes by inducing sweating, 2,000 years of history, TCM is clinical practice and theoretical summaries in the treatment of epidemics. For public respiratory health in 21st century, it requires us to treat these syndromes through its principles and promote the innovation and development of the theoretical system of TCM regarding exogenous febrile diseases. It includes internal diseases and exogenous diseases. So the initially developed collateral disease theory lays a theoretical foundation for the establishment of the science of collateral diseases in TCM. So these include arrhythmia, chronic heart failure, diabetes, neuromuscular disease, flu, colds. So Lianhua Qingwen is the medicine that we created for flu and colds. So it is present in our yang collaterals, the meridians. The research of Lianhua Qingwen has combined the Ming Dynasty and Han Dynasty research results in its development. So we have combined the treatise on cold damage in Han Dynasty and the detailed analysis of epidemic form disease in the Qing Dynasty. So from fever aversion to cold, cough, nasal obstruction, and general pain, we have the simultaneous treatment of defense and Qi aspects, dual release of the exterior and the interior. So it was approved through the Green Channel during the SARS outbreak in 2003. After more than 10 years of systematic research, we have proved that Lianhua Qingwen is effective in viral respiratory infections. Such as broad-spectrum antiviral activity of fighting influenza A viruses, H5N1, HN92, SARS or MERS viruses. It can also reduce the body temperature of patients. During 2009, in Beijing Yuan Hospital, Capital Medical University, we have done intensive research, randomized, double-blind, multiple center blinding and data processing by third party to ensure the objective, impartial, and repeatable results of Lianhua Qingwen. And the result is the discovery that the time for H1N1 virus nucleic acid to turn negative is equivalent to Tamiflu. Body temperature onset and body temperature relief time is superior to Tamiflu. The treatment cost ratio of Lianhua Qingwen to Tamiflu is approximately 1:8. So with COVID-19, is Lianhua Qingwen effective? Through 3 different stages of research, we were able to prove cellular, animal, and clinical research, we were able to prove that it is effective. Lianhua Qingwen has interventional effect on entire course of virus infecting cells. It has dual effects of being an antivirus and anti-inflammatory, which can significantly inhibit the activity of SARS-CoV-2 virus in vitro. It can inhibit plaque formation in virus-infected cells at the same time. It can also inhibit viral expression level in cells, change morphology of virus in cells. It can inhibit weight loss in SARS-CoV-2 infected mice, improve lung inflammatory injury in SARS-CoV-2 infected mice. has done prospective randomized controlled multi-centered clinical study of Lianhua Qingwen and treatment of 284 confirmed COVID-19 patients. Through prospective randomized controlled methods for 14 days. And we have shown that the control group who took Lianhua Qingwen exhibited significant improvement in their symptoms, significantly improves the clinical symptoms and clinical cure rate. Within 14 days, and the median duration of clinical symptoms for conventional treatment was 10 days, but through conventional treatment plus Lianhua Qingwen, the median duration was only 7 days. At the same time, Lianhua Qingwen can also reduce the ratio of conversion to severe case by 50% as compared to control group. It can also improve the negative rate of nucleic acid and show good trend for time to return negative. And it also shows a good safety rate. A lot of medical experts have also done their own research. And there were 17 hospitals which were led by Renmin Hospital of Wuhan University. And their results was that it increased the effectiveness of eliminating the symptoms and shortened the duration of clinical symptoms, also improved the disappearance rate of single symptom of cough, increased the clinical cure rate and long improvement rate, reduced the rate of conversion to severe case. Now the representative study results first published in international well-known journals, publishing 6 academic papers, of which 2 SEI papers are first. They showed first international fundamental research article on Chinese patent medicine inhibiting SARS-CoV-2. Throughout the process of Lianhua Qingwen fighting against COVID-19, there had been addition of indications for mild and common cases of COVID-19 approved. As representative drug of 3 drugs and 3 prescriptions, Lianhua Qingwen has achieved significant fruits in China's fight against COVID-19 epidemic. Lianhua Qingwen's role in epidemic prevention and control has been fully affirmed. It has been recognized by the party chief of the National Administration for Traditional Chinese Medicine in China. These prominent doctors have given their testimonies for Lianhua Qingwen, saying that they are proven to be effective in mild and common cases of COVID-19 patients. Dr. Zhang Guoli said that it is recommended and affirmed Lianhua Qingwen capsule clinical efficacy in treatment of COVID-19. And academician Tong Xiaolin said that Lianhua Qingwen drugs are used to treat fever populations and suspected patients with positive efficacy obtained. Lianhua Qingwen has played a key role in China's COVID-19 prevention and control efforts. It's been listed among recommended drugs by national and 20 provincial diagnosis and treatment plans as most recommended Chinese patent medicine. They have proven safety of this medicine. It has been applied in over 1,600 hospitals and communities in Hubei province, including 320 hospitals and communities in Wuhan. And it was listed as recommended TCM and work manual for cabin hospitals, issued by the National Health Commission. Lianhua Qingwen draws great attention home and abroad for application in COVID-19 prevention and control. Related reports on Lianhua Qingwen treatment in COVID-19 has reached page views of over 1 billion. Multi-countries report on the results of Lianhua Qingwen's results in epidemic fight distributed in Asia, Europe, America, Africa, and Oceania has aroused continuous global attention to traditional Chinese medicine in fighting the epidemic. The drug is registered as approved in 13 countries and is currently registering for approval in 40 countries. Lianhua Qingwen has drawn great attention in Sino Europe, Sino Italy, Sino France, and other exchange. And for overseas students in Italy, Iraq, and Iran, we have donated approximately 360,000 boxes of Lianhua Qingwen. So from 2003 SARS outbreak until 2019 for COVID-19, it has been recommended by China's authorities for over 20 times for its efficacy. And through modern medical research and practice, clinical practice research, we have proven its safety and its efficacy in fighting epidemics. So it has also reached the phase 2 of FDA-approved clinical trial for Lianhua Qingwen in US. It is China's first Chinese patented medicine. Thank you.
Very insightful talk. You know, it is very reassuring to learn that these traditional Chinese medicines are backed up by years and years of intensive research, development, and experience. Again, if our viewers out there have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to join the conversation down below as we can discuss them in our Q&A portion happening later in the program. Okay, our last speaker is a lot close to home. He is the medical director of Philippine Archipelago International Trading Corporation. He is also a clinical assistant professor in the UP College of Medicine and the consultant director of acupuncture services in Medical City Center for Wellness and Aesthetics. 温馨提示大家，想听普通话的观众朋友们，请按底下的翻译图标，同时呢，把原始音频关掉。So here to discuss in depth the safety and effectiveness of traditional Chinese medicine, please all welcome Dr. Philip Tangatue.
Hello, good afternoon. Here we go. My name is Dr. Philip Tangatue. I'm a clinical associate professor in the University of the Philippines College of Medicine. I have studied Chinese medicine in Nanjing Zongyao Daxue, Nanjing University of Traditional Chinese Medicine, as well as taking some short courses in Beijing Zongyao Daxue and Tianjin Zongyao Daxue. So I would like, and those training sequences have been very helpful in helping me marry traditional Chinese medicine and modern conventional medicine. So my purpose here today is not to give a long-term or a very comprehensive discussion, but more to answer what I anticipate to be the most common questions when it comes to traditional Chinese medicine in general. Okay, so I would like to emphasize that first and foremost, traditional Chinese medicine is not just the individual modalities. When we think traditional Chinese medicine, many people think of acupuncture or qigong or a particular way of cooking herbs. However, medicine itself here is not just the individual treatment modalities, but it has its own theories as to health, physiology, pathology, diagnostics, and treatment. Now, we might be tempted to look at it as, oh, we're going to hear about qi again, so we're going to talk about something magical. That's not the case. Rather, we should understand that the ancient people of thousands of years ago did not have the same scientific analysis abilities that we do now. But they were very careful in their observations. This symptom came first, that symptom followed, this combination of substances helps this combination of substances does not. They could not explain it the way we do now, but their observations were very, very accurate. One thing about Chinese herbal medicines is, unlike other traditions of Western medicine, other traditional medicines, we do not think of Chinese herbal form, materia medica, as being used individually. There are only about 3 or 4 which are used individually. That includes ginseng, among others. But most Chinese herbal formulas are used in combination. They work as a team. In fact, one thing I suggest to people trying to understand Chinese medicine is, don't look at them one at a time. Always look at this herb combined with herb A, combined with herb B, herb A combined with herb C, herb A combined with herb D. What do they do together? So if we look at the typical herbal formula, we'll see that it's not just additive. We don't just keep on adding one after the other. Each one has a distinct role. And to summarize, each formula has what we call a chief herb. The chief herb is the one that dictates the main action. The deputy herb can either strengthen the chief or reduce its power, so to speak. Why? Because in Chinese herbal medicine, we have some idea that a herb that has a strong action also works fast. But sometimes you want it to work fast, but not have the same strength. You want it a little weaker. So you can use another herb to temper the strength of the first herb. Very, very important. I'm going to anticipate a question that I'm sure will be there, which is, but what about this individual herb? It has this and that side effects. And that is the beauty of Chinese herbal medicine. We will put other herbs to mediate the side effects, and so on. Validity. Some people might say, oh, that's nice, but is it actually proven to work? Before we go there, I'd like to emphasize that one of the 3 winners of the 2015 Nobel Prize for Medicine and Physiology is Tu Youyou, whose work with artemisinin whose work led to the development of artemisinin as an antimalarial drug. Yes, we have modern medicine derived from ancient sources. What ancient source? I won't go to the whole story, but she got it basically from Handbook of Prescriptions for Emergencies by Ke Hong, written in 340 AD. 340 AD. That's 1,700 years ago almost. So from an ancient source, we can derive modern medicine. And I won't go through these studies very in depth, but I would just like to show these to you to help people get an idea of how much effort has been made to analyze and study these ancient formulas. So this is a study from Taiwan. It shows unraveling the molecular mechanism of traditional Chinese medicine. They took several formulas that have activity against acute respiratory viral infections, such as the flu or any of these viruses that give you cough. And so SARS and COVID would also fall under this. Let's take a look. Here, I will not go into specifics. We have the Gantang. So I guess what I want to say is you can easily see that we've identified how they work down to the molecular level. The individual substances, what and where they have their effect. Gagantang is traditionally used for what you hear exterior wind cold, and particularly for ones with neck and shoulder pain. We've identified each and every single, from each ingredient, we've identified what molecules go out, how they, and eventually how they go together, and we have the finished product. Another such formula is Ma Huang Tang. Ma Huang Tang, the main ingredient is Ephedra, and it's the first formula that we all study in Chinese medical school. Again, it has other effects, but they've also identified how it helps with airway infections. I'm not going to go into the specifics, but what I want to emphasize again is you can see how much science poured into this. Again, we've identified all the molecules from this formula. And my predecessor spoke of several Chinese herbal formulas with one specific, and one stood out to me, Masing Shi Kan Tang. In this case, again, we have the four substances, we have the identified molecules, and we know exactly how it has its effect. So what this means is, it is very inaccurate to say that it is just superstition or that it is just old wives' tales. We have the science to back it up. Now, taking this into something more new, qualitative and quantitative analysis of the major constituents in the Chinese medical preparation, Lianhua Qingwen capsule. This is from the Tianjin Key Laboratory of Modern Chinese Medicine. I have had the honor, Professor Tu Yan personally, 2 years ago when I studied in Tianjin. And I'm happy that this article is around because it also tells us what exactly is in this capsule. They have identified, first and foremost, we have to distinguish between the ingredients and the active substances. Why? Because you have 13 ingredients, you don't just add them all together. They're processed. Typically in Chinese medicine, they're decocted or boiled, and the fluid left to evaporate until you have a concentrate. With this decoction, the different ingredients will have molecular components interacting with each other, producing new substances. So in this study, they were able to find that Lianhua actually has almost different compounds. So from 13 ingredients, they interact, you have 60. And of those 60, you have 12 which do most of the work in terms of achieving the therapeutic effect. And what they do now in modern laboratories and research is we know the molecules, we know what genes affect which. For example, we have genes that we know, or we have chemical bioreceptors that affect heart rate, that affect expression of cholesterol, so on and so forth. We are now actually able to match down to a molecular level what substances in the formula affects which target receptor in the human cells. So we know how the formula achieves its therapeutic effect down to the molecular level. How much more scientific can we get than that? So the SARS experience, as mentioned before, it was a glorious moment in the integration of Chinese and Western medicine. I'd like to cite that in the Guangdong Hospital of Traditional Chinese Medicine, I believe Dr. Zhong Nanshan was mentioned earlier. He was one of those who advocated for integrating Chinese medicine with Western medicine treatment of SARS. The case fatality rate turned out to be 6.79%, which is almost 2 percentage points lower than the national average at the time. COVID-19, how does Chinese medicine look at it? Some of the terms I will just try to explain as I go. It'll take me another week to fully talk about this. It's an external invasion of wind heat, which means it's an it's something you get from the environment that you breathe in and causes highly inflammatory symptoms. When we say wind cold, you also get it from the environment, but the symptoms are more of what we Filipinos would call lamig or cold. Maybe an upset stomach, sniffles, low-grade fever or CNAT, but with wind heat, there's a chance for it to progress into something worse. Wind cold also, but more of the superficial bacterial infection. Chinese medicine recognizes that just because there's inflammation doesn't mean there's only one kind of inflammation. So it describes one kind of inflammation as fire, which I don't have to explain anymore. It's fire, it produces heat. In fact, the word inflammation in Western medicine comes from the word flame. But what's constrained qi? Since we say that COVID-19 has an element of constrained qi. Imagine you're trying to drive your car to take out the handbrake. You're pressing gas, you're stepping on the gas pedal, but there's heat produced. Not because there's a fire, but because something that's supposed to move freely is not moving. It's stuck in one place. It's like rubbing your hands together, produces heat. That's constrained qi. And therefore, you have one herb to treat the fire, example, and another one to treat to free up the qi. That's why you can't just have one herb. It's always a combination. Eventually, because the qi is not moving, it's constrained, you have a deficiency in vital qi. In modern medical language, this is your body exhausting its energy reserves trying to fight the bad guys. Think about it. In Philippine culture, we like to say, let the young children be chubby. Why? Because we know when they get sick, they become thinner. Chinese medicine explanation, too much fire, extinguishing the yin and vital qi, and they become more sickly. They become thinner. They have exhaustion of energy. Kaya nga in Tagalog, we say matamlay, or they feel weak or listless. There are other elements like dampness, heat, fluid or pus, also known as toxins, and blood stasis. Blood stasis means the qi is obstructed, the blood's not moving well, eventually it becomes sludgy. So all of this must be addressed in the herbal formula to be given. The Qingfei Baitu decoction from 4 different, they basically combine 4 different herbal formulas. Capsule, which is 13 ingredients, combination of Masing Shikantang and Inchaosan. Masing Shikantang, as mentioned before, is from Zhang Tongqing's treatise on cold damage around 200 AD, so about 1,800 years ago. Inchaosan from the Qing dynasty, about approximately 500 years ago. So, as already mentioned before, I will just reiterate, they took, just like Tu Yoyo, who found the use of an ancient herb to develop a new drug for malaria. Now we have combinations of different traditional formulas in order to combine them in medicine. because it talks about principles and clinical pictures. It doesn't matter what the excuse me, no matter what the cause is in Western medicine. If it fits that clinical picture, we can use that formula to treat it. So where did we get it? From Zhang Zhongting's Maxing Shi Gan Tang. Wu Youke would use rhubarb to help move the bowels. Wu Jutong would use Yin Chao San. So I have a lot of personal experience with Yin Chao San, which I will share right now. I have a slight sore throat. I take it, and just like with others' experience with Lianhua, same thing. We would perspire, and then it's done. And we have other modifications, again, based on tradition. I'd like to emphasize Maxing Shi Gan Tang, and I'd like to bring out the fact that this is not just a Chinese formula. I intentionally chose this picture from a Japanese website. Why? Because this formula is not just approved as safe in Japan. It is in fact covered by their National Health Insurance Corporation. It's not just considered safe, it's considered essential. So what does Maxing Shi Gan Tang do? Again, look at it as a unit. I would like to thank this image, which I borrowed from Hong Kong Baptist University. If we look at Ma Huang alone, which is Ephedra, it does this. Diffuse the lung, which means helps you breathe better. Release the exterior, which means helps you perspire. And Shigao helps to clear the lung and releases the flesh, same thing. But together, they have an additive effect. It's not just an effect. They neutralize each other's side effects. And then Ma Huang and Qingwen together helps stop cough and calm labored breathing. You know, the difficulty breathing. There. It helps with that. So again, don't look at them one by one. Look at them as a unit. Look at them as a unit. Wu Youke is the person who is the great doctor. The thing about Wu Youke is he experienced these kind of epidemic plagues firsthand. So it became personal for him and he made his observations. He emphasized that we should not just look at treating the lungs, but we should treat the other organs that are affected. In this case, rhubarb, tahuang, to purge the bowels. Of course, the theory in Chinese medicine is that the lung and the large intestine are both of the metal element, so what affects one could affect the other. That sounds interesting for someone in medicine, but I saw it firsthand. I'll tell you the story. My own daughter, when she was 2 years old, had a bad case of upper respiratory tract infection. Then I realized, wait, she has not moved her bowels in 3 days. So gave her some honey, helped her with the bowels. As soon as she moved her bowels, the respiratory symptoms were gone. So same thing here. And Yin Chao San, which is the later one. The combination here, the chief herbs are Qin-Inhua, honeysuckle flower, Japanese honeysuckle flower, and Lianchao forsyth fruit. Combination scatters the wind heat, clears heat, dissolves toxins. What does this mean? You see, the word toxin has been used a lot by alternative medicine practitioners. In Chinese medicine, it refers to the thing that causes disease, just like in Western medicine. It also refers to the product of this disease process, like pus, or in Filipino, we'd say nano, or what's inside the boil. So it has a range of meanings, but that's why Yin Chao San is very good by itself for sore throat. But we changed some of the herbs to make it fit more with the clinical manifestation of COVID-19. And that's the beauty also of Chinese medicine. You don't have to follow this. You can modify it. In fact, Zhang Zhongqing was mentioned by the previous speaker. Zhang Zhongqing recorded so many great formulas, and then other doctors in the future would make their own formulas, but you can trace it that so many times they're just modifications of what Zhang Zhongxing had written down 2,000 years ago. And finally, the science. Oh, that's nice. But does it work? So here's a nice study which shows comparing oseltamivir alone with oseltamivir combined with the combination of masing shikantang and inchalsan for treating H1N1. Bottom line, it works better. Fever goes away faster. So the recommendation of the author is, if oseltamivir is not available, we can use the combination of masing shikantang and inchalsan. In addition to, now let's look at the modifications. Rhodiola. It has been classified as a top grade herbal medicine in Shen Nong's Herbal Classic. Shen Nong is a mythological figure from ancient prehistoric China who is supposed to be the father of medicinal substances. So Shen Nong's Herbal Classic was written probably 2,000 to 2,200 years ago. It uses his name even if Shen Nong didn't actually write it down. But the point here is, we know that this herb has been traditionally used since that time. There are some herbs which are only recorded as being used medicinally later on. If the herb is used in Shen Nong's Herbal Classic or Shen Nong, you know it's been on for a long time. And the new scientific research confirming the tradition, it helps increase oxygen utilization. So even if you have a hard time getting the oxygen in, it helps you use the oxygen that's already there. So the ingredients of Lianhua, for example, in green is from masing shikantang. The one in blue-green would be from inchalsan and with other modifications. Tahuang by itself used to purge the heat. So this combination of Panangkan and Myanmar Kwatong assistants, so you know what assistant herbs do now. By themselves, they have an effect, but in this particular formula, they're used to help the two main herbs, Chininhua and Lianqiao, in doing their job. Guanghu Xiang is aromatic, which in Chinese medicine means it helps move things. For example, if you're in a locked room, which you haven't opened in a long time, the air can be very musty. So what do? We put in flowers, potpourri. It's aromatic, it helps, or orange peel, it's aromatic. It helps get rid of the musty smell. So notice, it's connected to resolving damp. In Filipino, matanggal yung mog. And freeze the middle burner, which is digestion. Hongqing Qian, we already mentioned, improves oxygen utilization. Yixing Tao eliminates toxins, disperses abscesses, expels pus. Makes sense now. It helps clear these products of inflammation. And finally, Tahuang, it's gonna make you go to the bathroom. In fact, in a study made to look at the possible adverse effects of Lianhua, the number one side effect is exactly the same number one side effect as most anti-inflammatory drugs, gastrointestinal. So what are the indications? This is something that we have to clarify. The burning question, is or is not Lianhua indicated for COVID-19? Well, that depends, because medicine, not just science, it's also law, it's also culture. In the People's Republic of China, it is approved for COVID-19 because in the People's Republic of China and in some other countries, like Japan, herbal medicine is considered an extension of pharmaceutical medicine. They're on the same level. Here, Lianhua has been approved as the first traditional medicine. What does that mean? It's much more than just a supplement. This one, it's backed up by tradition. That's why its indications under Philippine law has to be its traditional uses. So what are the traditional uses? Clear scourge, or clear the gunky mud, or you can imagine if you have a lot of phlegm with your lungs going like that. It will help clear that. Remove toxins, which I already mentioned before. Diffuse lung, which means help the airflow. You breathe better. Discharge heat, get rid of the infection. Epidemic influenza. What do you mean by epidemic influenza? There's the flu, which you just get because the weather's cold. There's the flu that's more severe, that spreads really fast and has the potential to really do a lot of damage. And that's COVID-19 right now. And specifically, because there are many different manifestations of the flu, specifically, we're looking for muscle soreness, stuffy, runny nose, cough with wheezing. So masing shikantang, for example, has been used for patients with asthma in the past. And headache and dry sore throat. So you can see the indications here are kind of a combination of where you can use masing shikantang and inchaosan. A brilliant, brilliant combination, if I do say so myself. Oh, sorry. So in conclusion, traditional Chinese medicine and Western medicine, I believe that they are like the yin and yang. They complement each other very well. There are some things where Western medicine is better. There are some things where Chinese medicine is better. When you put them together, you have an amazing combination. Second, traditional Chinese medicine has been studied on a molecular level. We know how it works there. On a pharmacological level, we know how it interacts with other drugs. And on a clinical level. So the science is there. Third, because we know the mechanisms of ancient formulas, we can now adapt them for modern use and for new diseases, so long as they present with the same clinical picture that we saw in the past, with modifications. Lianhua Qingwen capsules is from famous prescriptions from 3 different eras of Chinese history. So the track record for success is there. And Lianhua Qingwen capsule itself has been studied on a molecular level, showed you the research. On a pharmacologic level, the research is all over, but I decided not to show it yet because limited time, but the research is there. And on a clinical level, it has shown to have much great, magnificent effect for mild to moderate cases of COVID-19, as long as they present with that particular clinical picture. So thank you very much. Hope to answer your questions later on.
Thank you very much, Dr. Philip Tangatwe, for that very informative talk. Well, we have definitely learned a lot today with the massive volume of information spoon-fed to us. But of course, I'm sure there are still a few questions that people would like to ask or to clarify. That said, we are going to open the floor for comments and questions. And for our Zoom attendees, you may still type in your questions in the Q&A chat box below, while those who are tuned in on Facebook may also type in their questions at the comment section. And we will be reading out these questions, your entries, and our panelists, Dr. Qingwen and Dr. Philip Tangatwe, will be more than happy to answer them in the best way they can. All right, so let's begin. Okay. So I have this first question here, but it is directed to Ms. Olivia Limpeao. So people are asking, is Lianhua already available in the Philippines, and where can they find it? At what outlets can they find it?
Yes, Max. It's available in South Star Drugstore right now, and soon it will be available in Mercury Drugstore branches around the country and Watson's. But for Mercury Drug, it will be available in branches with S3 licenses because it had been classified as dangerous drugs by the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency. And so it requires the S3 license to be able to sell it to the public, and also that it be prescribed by an S2 licensed doctor for now. Yes.
I see. And of course, to our viewers out there, we do have our interpreters helping us out in translating the questions and the answers. Okay.
Yes, and Max, if I may add something, I know that we have quite a bit of friends from the local government units who are here with us today, and another option where they can get this product is if their their public hospitals can also be the one to purchase it, because all public hospitals, including private hospitals, but for LGUs it would be public hospitals, have S3 licenses. So they can also contact us directly, and we can also sell to their hospitals.
That's actually very good news.
Yes.
Good news. Okay, now this next question will be asked, actually anyone from the panelists from Yiling, or even Dr. Philip Tangatwe could answer this. So what do you think are the strengths of traditional Chinese medicine, and what do you think is its advantage over the Western medicine that we all know?
I would like to answer that. As someone who is versed in both, I would say that traditional Chinese medicine is better when it comes to the treatment of a lot of everyday problems. For example, I've heard a saying from my friends in China: if you get hit by a car, you go to a Western emergency room, backache or muscle cramp, or my sniffles, which won't go away, and then I go to a Chinese doctor. I think that Chinese medicine is very good in exactly this. Just look at the flu, look at cough, ordinary viral disease. Western doctor, what do we say? Drink more water, get some rest. That's easy for some people when they have the luxury, spend time resting. But what about people who work on a daily basis? They don't go in, they don't get paid. They need to recover faster. So that's where Chinese medicine comes in and helps relieve those symptoms very, very well. That's just an example.
Okay, so having said that, let's move on to our next question, because a lot of people are asking. It says here, how do you address the black market problem of Lianhua Qingwen? Because many Chinese businessmen, Chinese drugstores, and even organizations and associations have been importing Lianhua for some time. Some government departments or NGOs in China have also been donating Lianhua Qingwen to their Philippine counterparts and local Chinese organizations. So are these actually considered as illegal and subject to confiscation and prosecution? So maybe this could be answered by Ms. Olivia.
Well, actually, it is a problem because initially it wasn't registered in the Philippines, so there were a lot of products that came into the market. But now that we have Lianhua Qingwen registered officially in the Philippines, so the best is really to look for the English packaging. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, it's there, right? It's there. English packaging. It also comes in a blister pack with English text, and even the instructions in the box is also in English. And I think the best really is not to buy it, for consumers not to buy it, because we don't guarantee the integrity of those products that are not officially registered, officially imported and registered products in the Philippines. So, and then of course we also work with the government agencies, the various government agencies like PDEA, the FDA, DTI, the NBI, and we do have to give them information on the prevalence of these unregistered products, for the safety of our public. So this is an ongoing enforcement effort between our company and in cooperation with government enforcement agencies. So hopefully we will be able to fix that in time, and hopefully also if the government favorably considers our request to reclassify the product from dangerous drugs to over-the-counter, that would be a big help. But of course, we are not sure on what the decision will be, but there is a pending request for that due to the need of the times, right? Because there's a state of calamity right now. So there are many factors, but make sure that when you buy it, you buy the registered product. The registration will appear on the box, the registration number of the product. It's THPR 50, and it will be in English. So please don't buy the non-registered products.
Or maybe an easier way of doing it is buy from legitimate sources.
Correct.
Like,
That's also
like
a
what
good
you said earlier, it's now available at South Star Drugs, right?
And soon in Mercury Drug outlets, in Watson's drugstore. So buy from your legitimate drugstores, and you'll be safe.
Because you can't go wrong.
Yes, correct.
OK， 那现在再次提醒大家呢，
If I
想
may
听普通话的观众朋友们呢，请按底下的翻译图标，同时把原始音频关掉。Again, to those who need to switch on their interpretation tab, just do so as needed. OK. All right. So this question is for Dr. Philip Tangatwe. OK. Why do you think many Filipinos are still kind of skeptical about using herbal medicines, and how can we break the stigma?
In my opinion, I've seen a huge waxing and waning in the past 10 years or so when it comes to the acceptance of traditional medicine. Part of it, I think, is sometimes people don't know who to believe, and because there are a lot of people out there claiming to be traditional medicine or alternative medicine practitioners, and with mixed results, and therefore they get maybe conflicting advice from their physicians. Some will say that, oh, this one's no good, and some will say that that's okay. So I think sometimes patients are confused, and we have a tendency to lump everything together. So it's either conventional or way that people think. So that's normal. That's the way we look at the world. It's like, like us versus them or something. So I think the stigma can be broken, one, through adequate information. That's why I've been lecturing on Chinese medicine for years. I always speak in terms of science, because those things everyone can relate to, and that will melt the mind of any skeptic. And second, as long as we see that it works and it's properly documented that it works, not just
Philip, your is breaking up a bit, just a bit.
One or two good stories, but tons of an adjunct to
Okay, so let's get back to Dr. Philip in just a bit, because I think the signal is breaking up a little. Okay, so 下面的这个问题呢是要问魏聪博士. So Dr. Kongwei will be the one to answer this, hopefully. So the recovery rate of COVID symptomatic and those mild and moderate symptoms is actually very high, very high recovery rate, even without the aid of medicines. Now, can this Lianhua offer more, since those people who have asymptomatic or moderately symptomatic conditions are recovering really well? Okay, and of course, the next question would be, has these capsules cured severe and critical COVID-19 conditions patients or people who are senior citizens who are considered in, belonging to that critical condition category?
I can answer the first. I will answer that question in the context of Philippine FDA rules. It has been shown to be effective in the treatment of many patients who suffer from that particular clinical picture that I described, COVID-19 or otherwise. Now, when it comes to whether or not it is going to be used in more severe cases, I really should leave that to my colleagues in China.
感谢这个提问。那么莲花清瘟目前它列入的适应症里面是用于轻型和普通型的新冠肺炎的治疗。至于在重症方面的确切作用，目前我们还没有一个系统的比较规范汇报到的莲花清瘟治疗新冠肺炎由朱院士牵头的这个临床研究284例的研究里面，我们纳入的患者是普通型的患者。那么在重症的方面呢，事实上我们也了解到，只要是能够给予药物来进行的，我们也尽量的是加载上去了。但是因为这个没有一个系统的数据所以现在对于它的治愈率方面还不能给出一个明确的数据。刚才提到对于老年病人，他有合并的有冠心病或者是其他一些慢性疾病，在治疗中是不是有一些那么同时呢，莲花清瘟上市以后，接受中国这个药品安全监测，这个监测中它的这个不良反应是非常低的那么评级来看呢，属于非常罕见级，所以在用药的广泛性和大量的临床数据方面，没有提示对于一些合并有这个慢性病方面的特别的不良事件的发生以上是我的回答，谢谢。
OK， 还有这个莲花呢有没有副作用 ？Is there any side effect when it comes to administering 莲花？
不良反应这块呢，在说明书里面我们提示，有部分的胃肠道的反应部分的胃肠道的反应，在说明书里面有提示。
And also, what is its efficacy rate? Because a lot of people obviously have used this Lianhua and got favorable results. But what is in actual?
个别的体质方面如果有差异的话，可能会出现胃肠道的一些反应。但是像对脾胃虚寒，我们中医讲脾胃虚寒的患者，他在使用的时候可以酌减或者是餐后来使用，可以减少这种不良反应的发生。那么现在莲花清瘟的推荐呢，包括儿童用药，还有这次新冠疫情中儿童和妊娠期的用药都有推荐，所以它的安全性是可以有保障的。
好的 Okay, thank you very much. This is for Dr. Philip Tangatue. How do we cautiously give Lianhua to hypertensive patients? Is it safe for them?
Well, I've studied the literature on most common side effects. First of all, I understand where the question's coming from. It comes from the fact that herba ephedra or mahuang is one of the ingredients, and that may be a cause for concern because for some people. But first of all, according to the study which I have seen, this is about 2,000 patients given Lianhua, and these are actual sick people, so they were observed for side effects. The incidence of hypertension was almost nothing. The most common side effect was number one, gastrointestinal upset, number two, diarrhea. But I do understand where that's coming from. But if
we think about it,
as I said,
this also happens to Western medicine, right? It's not only for traditional Chinese medicine.
Side effects of hypertension, particularly of those. That's why we never give it by itself. That's why we never give mahuang by itself. In this case, look at the mahuang shugao combination or the mahuang Qingwen combination.
Okay, so it's in conjunction. All right. So this next question says, what were the challenges you faced while trying to bring in... I'm sorry, doctor?
Sorry, I just want to add, I was going to conclude. So when it comes to giving it to hypertensive...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. When it comes to giving this to hypertensive patients, this is just my personal opinion for now. I would still monitor, but I wouldn't worry about it because the short term, we only give this for a short term. We don't give it for long-term use. But I would still monitor, as I would monitor with any other illness, any other drug.
Yeah, that is right. That's right. Thank you, doctor. Okay, so again, as I was saying, the next question says here, what were the challenges you faced while trying to bring in traditional Chinese medicine here in the Philippines in the middle of a global pandemic? So I guess the person who could answer this is Ms. Olivia Limpeao.
Hi. Well, actually, of course, it was very challenging given the situation that we were applying for registration at the height of the pandemic, right? But I think the major difficulty was because it was a first. So our orientation in the Philippines is very much on the Western medicine. So when we introduce something new and we apply for registration for traditional Chinese medicine, and it's not something that is, something that we have awareness of, then of course there is that's the difficult part. So it's really trying to convince them, also for the FDA to try to learn to understand it, given that you know, the principles behind Chinese medicine is not exactly the same as Western medicine. And so that's why we got Dr. Philip Tangatwe, because he understands both. And by having both, you know, then we can better explain it to a market that has like practically zero knowledge on Chinese, traditional Chinese medicine. So that was the main challenge. It's really, you know, trying to approve something that they had no experience on and have no practically nil awareness and knowledge of. So, but then we, because of our cooperation and really our communication with the FDA, which was like practically every day for like 3 months, we finally, we were able to get it done. And what really drove us was really the desire to bring in something that could help, you know, and that no matter how difficult it was, we did it. Like I was working even on Saturdays and Sundays because I needed, together with the Yiling group, you know, they really provided all the documentary requirements, you know, to substantiate, you know, whatever, and to complete the requirements requested by the FDA. So it was really a lot of work, a lot of patience, a lot of learning and understanding, because I had to do the compliance part myself, because it's something difficult for even our own people. So it was challenging, but I would say it's a good feeling that we're able to achieve something that has the potential to really help our country.
Right. Recover from this pandemic.
Yes, yes.
Now, this next question could be answered by our panelists from Yiling. In patients who have been infected mildly, how has this affected the rate of recovery for those countries who have been using it? Meaning, did the rate of recovery go higher with those countries using Lianhua or otherwise? Again, anyone from our Yiling representatives could answer this question.
目前我们完成的系统的观察数据是只来自于中国，国外其他注册国家目前还没有拿到系统的数据。那现在看到的这个284例的新冠肺炎的治疗来看，它在主要改善临床症状、消失率
For now, we only have the data from China. We still don't have the data from other foreign countries.
常规治疗这一组是82.4，可以提高接近10个。
It can range around. Lianhua Qingwen can increase the efficacy of treating symptoms by around 10% compared with other medicine. So for Lianhua Qingwen, the duration of symptoms averages at 7 days, and for other medicine, the average days is 10 days. So Lianhua Qingwen has an 83.8% of curing the symptoms, and for other medicine, it's around 64%. These data have been gathered from our research resulting from China.
The question says, traditional Chinese medicine has been around for a long, long time. We all know that. But it seems that it is not only surviving, but also thriving. Our panelists from Yiling, why do you think traditional Chinese medicine has been thriving up until now?
I'd like to ask the question. So answer the question. Why is it thriving?
Yes,
it's
up until
thriving
now, because it has
works.
been there for a long time.
It's thriving because number one, it works. Obviously, number two, because it's not set in its ways. There's always evolution. There's always adaptation. they'll discover new medicinal substances from other countries. For example, the Lianhua in Lianhua and in Chaosan, it's the Japanese honeysuckle flower. So more and more, as there's in this global age, we'll discover more and more. For example, in the future, they'll find uses for Philippine flora and fauna in their research, and they'll be able to discover new ways to use these and adapt old formulas into new formulas. So that's one of the amazing things about Chinese medicine is it's still growing, it's still adapting. In fact, it's just in that sense, it's just like conventional medicine. The difference is Chinese medicine has a 2,000 year, 3,000 year head start.
So is it correct for me to say that even if we're talking about traditional Chinese medicine, contrary to what people think, a lot of research and development really go into these medicines? It's not only anecdotal evidence, right?
Yes, I was only able to find, I only cited one study talking about Masing Shikantang and in Chaosan combination. But if you look in the literature for either one alone or any of these formulas, there will be a whole bunch of studies showing that they work.
Correct. Because if we are presenting all the studies this afternoon, we will have to do this up until next year. All right.
And if I may add, Max.
Yes, go ahead.
If I may add, and this is to answer the other questions that I see being posted. I think another reason why it's thriving is because of its price point. So for instance, for Lianhua Qingwen, the question is, what is the price of Lianhua Qingwen? And I would say it's very affordable. Our SRP, or suggested retail price, is 288 pesos a box. And if the recommended dosage is like 7 days, you would need like 3 to 4 boxes. And that's like for 3 boxes, it's less than 1,000 pesos, and you are, and it works. So it's affordable. That's why it's also one reason why it's thriving. Aside from the fact that they continuously innovate, trying to find new ingredients to come up with better, more effective medicines that people can afford.
That's right. Okay, so I believe this has been answered by Ms. Olive already earlier, but again, just to recap, how can we verify again if the Lianhua that we are buying is legitimate or not? Again, aside from the fact that we have to buy from legitimate sources, meaning physically, what are some red flags that we should keep an eye on to spot the fake medicine, so to speak? Yes, Ms. Olive.
So again, look for the box. First thing is it must be in English.
In English.
Yes, we do have an approved FDA packaging, which you see on the screen. The instructions will also be in English. Okay, so the leaflets are in English. Okay, and then of course when you open it, okay, the blister pack will also be in English. So no longer like what they have been used to seeing in the market, which is all in Chinese. So, and then of course in the box, you have the registration number there, okay? And then the generic name, which is all the 13 herbs, right? And they have their, of course, their barcode and all that. So it's really, just by looking at the box alone, you will know if it is authentic, registered product. So really, please try not to buy and sell these unregistered products, because you will have to deal with the law, and you wouldn't want to get into trouble just because of that.
Right. So, and as what we have already mentioned earlier, if you don't want to go through the problem, the hassle of going through all the details of which one is fake, which one is original, just buy from the legitimate source. Don't buy from unscrupulous suppliers, right?
Yes.
That's the fastest way.
Yes.
Okay, so what do you guys think is the future of traditional Chinese medicine in the Philippines? How do you plan, of course, to expand with these medicines now that Lianhua has been approved in the Philippines and is currently on the market? This could be answered by either Dr. Philip or Miss Olive. What is the future of traditional Chinese medicine here in the Philippines?
Well, I'd say there's a big future because it's just the beginning. We're just starting with, it's like today is like a TCM 101, right? We're just
Yes, correct.
learning about traditional Chinese medicine. But as I said, the silver lining to this COVID-19 is we discovered Chinese medicine and how it can be effective, affordable, and very helpful to our country. So I think by giving it a chance, but well, actually the result speaks for itself, right? And if we have more medicines that can help our countrymen, and you know the Philippine market has a big mass population with a low purchasing price, I think the prospects for traditional Chinese medicine is very big, you know, and it can really help us a lot in terms of public health and improving the health of our fellow men.
I see. So again, just to remind everyone, Lianhua has been approved in the Philippines and is currently on the market. But Ms. Olive, are you planning to expand and bring in more traditional Chinese medicine in the future?
Well, we're open because like for instance, Yiling has a lot of other products. This is just one of their many drug or medicine products. And I think there's really a wide range of products available for all kinds of diseases. So for me is why not? It really depends on the need of our population. What are the public health issues that we're faced with, and we're open. Yes.
Okay, that's good. And of course, again, hopefully you would be able to help even more people by bringing in these effective medicines for the benefit of our fellow men.
Yes, thank you.
So as we bring this event to a close, we would like to thank our sponsors, Shijiazhuang, Yiling Pharmaceutical, and Philippine Archipelago International Trading Corporation, as well as our media partner, Asian Dragon Magazine, who will be broadcasting this virtual launch later this evening via their Facebook page. So please check it out. Again, send the links to your friends, your loved ones, because they will benefit a lot from this virtual launch. Again, thank you everyone for joining us, our panelists, speakers, interpreters, and most importantly, our viewers. My name is Max Yu saying stay safe, be well, and enjoy the rest of your day. God bless us all. Thank you.
好，谢谢，谢谢我们的合作伙伴以及在座的各位专家。
Thank you so much to our partners and everyone who has attended this launch today.
好，OK， 再见，拜拜。
Bye.
It is also about honesty and responsibility. Every pill reflects the technical edge and medicinal supremacy of a pharmaceutical enterprise. It also measures our shared values. Hearing Yiling, seeking wisdom from traditional virtues to carry us towards the future. We are devoted to a creed that curative power is the only measure for efficacy and quality. Each Lianhua Qingwen capsule crystallizes our painstaking efforts and pride, and embodies our great passion for perfection.
cure cold, anti-influenza, treat COVID-19. Lianhua Qingwen derives from 3 famous prescriptions to treat the plague. The materials are strictly selected. Combined with scientific pharmacology and processing technology that reforms innovative traditional Chinese medicine. Due to the remarkable effect on preventing SARS in 2003, it was approved to the market in 2004. Over the past 16 years, it has been recommended to the public in 22 times by 13 national-level diagnosis and treatment programs and guidelines. It has become the representative medicine for viral infection and the regular stock medicine in families. The list of suppressing viruses has continued to grow. Lianhua Qingwen became the world's first medicine that approved to treat the indications of COVID-19 in 2020.
治疗显示康复率达到了91.5%，
治疗组症状恢复也会更快。在胸部 CT 的影像学表现方面，治疗组也有更好的一个改善的效果。莲花清瘟胶囊对于轻症和非重症的新冠患者更加适用。
All across the land, we share the same breath. We joined epidemic prevention. Yiling donated 10 million Lianhua Qingwen capsules in the early stage of COVID-19 and carried out international assistance many times. Up to now, it has been launched in 10 countries and regions worldwide. Global pandemic. Breathe together. Lianhua Qingwen.
Making the finest medicine is about craftsmanship. It is also about honesty and responsibility. Every pill reflects the technical edge and medicinal supremacy of a pharmaceutical enterprise. It also mirrors our shared values. Hearing Yiling, seeking wisdom from traditional virtues to carry us towards the future. We are devoted to a creed that curative power is the only measure for efficacy and quality. Each Lianhua Qingwen capsule crystallizes our painstaking efforts and pride, and embodies our great passion for perfection.
Hi, I'm Police Lieutenant Colonel Kimberly Mulitas. I'm currently the Chief of the Public Community Relations of the Highway Patrol Group. I took it because in July, while I was training for my motorcycle rider course, I contracted the disease. I was tested positive of the COVID. Some of my friends already had that experience of taking the Lianhua. So they sent me some. Fortunately, here I am, being interviewed because of the medicine that I took. I started taking the Lianhua 2 days after I was tested positive. I didn't have a sense of smell, I didn't have a taste, I cannot eat. I had body weakness, I had cough, I had colds, I had a bad headache, body malaise, everything except for the fever. Friends based in Singapore, in Taiwan, and of course in other countries that has been affected, and some of them mentioned about the use of Lianhua. I always wondered why it was not being approved here in the country. Fortunately, we have a good supply of it, and right now we distributed them to our officers. In any case that, or if there's any worry that they would have this COVID, we already have doses for them. It was good because I felt that it was not harming my body, since I know and I understood that it's a high-grade medicinal plant, or it's a plant-based medicine. I got better, and it's not just me. It was quite good coming from the perspective of a law enforcer and the nurse, as I am. Of course, you have to follow the correct regimen for it. You have to take water, you have to properly nourish your body, and it serves as a medicine and a supplement, as a supplement at the same time for you. Going from the mountains, we've always been an advocate of herbal medicines. And I think it's very important to recognize that still in this world of modern medicine, it's always important to consider the natural medicines that we have around. At the end of the day, when things happen like this, like the unexpected spread of this COVID, which cannot even be solved by Western medicine, it's important to look at the aspect of naturality, and that there are medicines provided by us, by nature. It's readily available for everyone, it's cheap. For all those who are still challenged by it, I think that you don't have to worry. There are many testimonies, not just mine, that says that it really works. Personally, I would say it worked because I am here, I am healed with the help of the Lianhua, which I took. I got better. Please consult the right people and use the medicine correctly for you to get better and to get back on your feet.